Good evening, and I just got through reading the book. Very good book. Um, the Heroines of Mercy Street. The Heroines of Mercy Street. The Real Nurses of the Civil War. By Pamela D Toler PHD. By Pamela D Toler. PhD, and it's called the Heroines of Mercy Street, the Real Nurses of the Civil War. And a couple of names that it talks about nurses during the Civil War. And I'm going to put my specs on where I can see. But a couple of things that it talked about during the Civil War was Dorothy Lynn Dix. She was born on April the 4th, 1802. April the 4th, 1802. And reading this book really, I thought, made me think about my own genealogy, my family genealogy, because one of my ancestors, my grandma, Rachel Mullins, was born in 1802 as well. So, but Dorothy Lynn Dix was born April 4th, 1802, and she lived until July 17th, 1887, was an American advocate on behalf of the mentally ill, and sustained a program of lobbying state legislators in the United States Congress, created the first generation of American mental health. During the Civil War, she served as superintendent of nurses. She also visited she visited the mentally ill. She visited the people that wasn't able to get out, and she was an advocate for them, and she was a voice for them. You know, I talked about on my last video about how we need to be a voice for other people, and that remains true. We need to be a voice for those who cannot speak up for themselves. Dorothy Lynn Dix was that kind of person. Hold on here. She was that kind of person. And it says here, she wrote mainly devotional books and stories for children. Her conversations of common things. So she authored quite a few books as well. But she mainly volunteered. She stepped up to volunteer for during the Civil War for the Union Army. She stepped up to volunteer. And also another name that it mentions is Clara Harlow Barton. Clarissa Harlow Barton, or Clara Barton. She was born on December the 25th, 1821, and passed away on April the 12th, 1912. She was an American nurse who founded the American Red Cross. She was a hospital nurse in the American Civil War, a teacher, and a patent clerk. Since nursing education was not then very formalized, she did not attend nursing school. She provided self-taught nursing care. Barton is noteworthy of doing humanitarian work and civil rights advocacy at the time before women had the right to vote. She was inducted in the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1973. So it also talks about her. But this is a very good book. Very good book. You know, they were there to care for the soldiers, and they were there to help the soldiers. And something it mentioned in there was, even though they were nurses for the Union Army, the Confederacy, at times, they had to take care of them as well, and they're wounded. And they care for them just the same. And I thought about that, He was an advocate for all people. But it's a very good book, very good historical account of the nurses in the Civil War, during the Civil War. And Dorothy Lynn and Clarissa Barton, they both patterned their skills, and they learned their skills from none other than Florence Nightingale. So I thought that was very interesting as well. But PBS actually had the show Mercy Street. And this is, of course, the companion book. So if you know anybody that loved that show, that would be a good book to go along with Mercy Street, is The Heroines of Mercy Street, the Real Nurses of the Civil War, by Pamela D Toler PHD, forward by Ridley Scott. So that would be a very good book for a Christmas gift. If you know anybody that liked them shows. There's also a plaque, it looks like, hanging up of Dorothy Dix at Royal Edinburgh Hospital. But, like I said, she often visited jails. She visited hospitals. She visited all over. She did Bible study. Dorothy Dix, she done Bible study. Dorothy Lynn Dix, she's done Bible study with them. Bible lessons that she did with the people in the hospitals and the jails. And like I said, she was an advocate for them. And, as I was reading the kind of lady that she was, the kind of Christian lady that she was, as I was reading that, I began to think about today. We need people just like that, that will go in there, that will care for people, that will be an advocate for those people that's not got a voice. People that's in hospitals, nursing homes. We can be a friend to them. We can be in the jails. We can be a friend to them. We can be a companion to them, so to speak. I think there's one denomination, I think it might have been the United Methodist, had Companions in Christ, and it was like a Bible study group, Companions in Christ, and they, I think it was centered more toward the elderly people. So, they would, the booklet, the teaching booklet, I got a hold of one of those, and it was very, very awesome. But, everybody needs a friend. Everybody needs a voice. So, there's sometimes in this life that we live that we need to let them know, hey, we're going to be your friend. We're going to speak up for you. But I'm glad for people in history like Dorothy Lynn Dix, Clara Barton, who saw the need and stepped up to care for other people. Like I said, she lobbied Congress. And one part of the book, it wrote about how they thought the mentally ill didn't get cold. They didn't have heat in some of the rooms where they stayed, and it was their belief that they didn't get cold. They didn't feel cold. Well, she lobbied, and she got heat put into them places. She made sure that they were even, the holistic, I guess, approach. She lobbied to get their meals, the patients' meals. She lobbied to get better food for them. Often spending money out of their own pockets. They wanted to make sure that the people they were caring for got good food, good healthy food. So like I said, the holistic approach. Not only their health, but the food, their physically, mentally, they made sure that there were services that they could attend, prayers. They often prayed, the nurses did, services. And it's just, like I said, just a really, really good book. Just a really, really good book. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, a little bit about Dorothy Dix, and this is according to Wikipedia. Let's see. She was born in the town of Hamden, Maine. She grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts. Among her parents' relatives was the first child of three born to Joseph Dix and Mary Bigelow. She had a deep ancestral roots in Massachusetts Bay Colony. Her mother suffered from poor health. She was unable to provide constant support to her children. Her father was an itinerant bookseller and Methodist preacher. At the age of 12, she and her two brothers were sent to their wealthy grandmother. Dorothy Lynn married Dr. Elijah Dix in Boston to get away from her alcoholic parents and abusive father. She began to teach in a school all for girls in Worcester, Massachusetts. At 14 years old, had developed her own curriculum for her class. Think about that. In which she emphasized ethical living and natural sciences. In about 1821, Dix opened a school in Boston. Let's see. Soon afterwards, she also began teaching four neglected children out of the barn of her grandmother's house, but she suffered poor health. But anyway, I'd like to look up some of the books that she has authored and check them out. One book often leads to another, right? And one thing, she didn't care if another thing, like I said, talking about the holistic approach, she wanted to make sure that cleanliness was important to her. And she wanted to make sure that they had clean living conditions, the patients. So I thought about that too, holistic approach. Says her even-handed caring for Union and Confederate wounded alike assured her memory, both the North and the South. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this little book review. The Heroines of Mercy Street, the Real Nurses of the Civil War, by Pamela D Toler PHD. God bless.